Strategy number 3, bring stakeholders into the conversation with your software vendor's client support team regularly. So why is this important? There are actually 4 reasons why this is important. The first is because relationships are everything. If you build good relationships with everyone you work with, both internally and externally, then you set yourself up for greater success because you increase the network of people you can depend on for support and advice. The second reason is because it's a form of empowerment. Bringing stakeholders into the conversation is empowering for your colleagues, but also functions to signal that the work is a shared responsibility. The third reason is because it promotes investment in the solution. Bringing stakeholders into the conversation allows them to learn and be more invested in the product overall. And the fourth reason is because it develops empathy. And letting client support teams hear from other internal stakeholders directly gives them an opportunity to develop more empathy and a greater appreciation for the needs and culture of your organization. So how do you make this happen? You have to have stakeholders attend meetings or join regularly scheduled calls that are relevant to their purview as much as possible.
And Tim, quickly, just a really practical question. What do you do if that's not an option? What if you're not able, what if there's not a regularly scheduled call with a vendor, or there's not a way for other members of your team to interact directly with that software vendor?
Yeah, that's a good question, Keith. In my experience in working in technology at a private school for 12 years, generally speaking, there's always an opportunity. But if there's not an opportunity, I guess my recommendation would be to create the opportunity. And this isn't a great example, but it's an example of this past 2 weeks. We use a software product called Cisco Umbrella that was once called OpenDNS for content filtering at the school. And we're considering re-architecting the design of that next summer. And we never have regular meetings with our Cisco account rep about the use of the software. But I know that in order to re-architect this, I need to have a meeting. And so I reached out to tech support to first find out who our account manager is. And I thought it was kind of sad that I didn't even know who our account manager was, but that's a separate conversation. And then once I got that information, I proactively reached out to the person that was our account manager and said, hey, I'd like to set up a call with an engineer and you, so we can kind of go through some of the questions we have. So I created that opportunity to make that happen. And I know your question's more, this particular strategy is, for folks that are stakeholders outside of our department, but this is just an example of, we're the stakeholder in this situation, and so we're driving it. But I would do the exact same thing if there was an issue with a software solution that we use and the stakeholder wasn't an IT department member, but needed to address a challenge. I would take the same, avenue, which is just reaching out to tech support, getting account manager information, reaching out to them, and then looking to schedule a call with an engineer. All right, some tips. Be as flexible as possible so you can accommodate the stakeholders' busy schedule, because keep in mind when you're asking, for example, your head of middle school to join a conversation with a software vendor, that they have their own schedule every day and you have to work around their availability. Provide questions or concerns to the client support team in advance to make the time with the stakeholder as productive as possible. I try to do this pretty much in all aspects of my job. Always let folks know what I want to talk about in advance so there's time for reflection.
And from a vendor's perspective, that's so helpful. And having been on the other side of the call, knowing the agenda items for the call is an absolute game changer. It's very, very helpful.
Provide opportunities to involve stakeholders in both tactical and strategic conversations. All right, here's a review of strategy number 3. Bring stakeholders into the conversation with your software vendor's client support team regularly. The why is because it builds relationships, empowers colleagues, makes the work a shared responsibility, and promotes greater buy-in.